Hey, it's Sparky, Fifer, 1250 AM The Fan, live here in beautiful Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Meteorologist said it was supposed to rain all day, and it's not raining. So far, so good. We'll see if we can avoid some rain today. We've avoided rain for the last month and a half or so. Also joining us, Dwight Albrecht, of course, at the Spare Time Pro Shop in beautiful New Berlin, Wisconsin. And Phil Brylow, $2 Phil. He, of course... you know him. He's done stuff over the course of time for the PBA Tour, whether it be, what was it, Extra Frame. Used to be the play-by-play guy in Extra Frame.
Yeah.
Does all the streaming and video work for the PBA Tour from time to time as well, plus does all the regional, a lot of the regional stuff around the country. Okay, so after a week off last week, and I took a week off of doing the Kurt and Long podcast, talking Packers football with Ryan Horvath as well, as I was in Iowa, and then over by Kay's mom. We come back now to do this bowling podcast. And I was texting Dwight and Phil, and I put St. Louis on the video, but it's actually Iowa, not St. Louis. Iowa. Yeah, it's Iowa. And we were in Iowa for a perfect game tournament in Marion, Iowa. And that is right there by Cedar Rapids. Well, where our hotel is, and the same, we've stayed at this hotel 4 times now. This is the hotel we always stay at. It's never the team hotel. For whatever reason, none of our teams ever stay here, but we love this place. It's an old Best Western. It's called the Best Western Long Branch or something like that. If you're going to Iowa, if you're a travel parent of baseball and your baseball team is going there, it's like 12 to 15 minutes maybe from where the fields are. And it's an older hotel. It's got a steakhouse kind of right attached to it as part of it. And then the perfect game, the corporation has a like office and indoor space right there in the parking lot of this place. So if you wanted to get extra batting practice in, if you're there during the week and they're open during the week, they have a pro shop, the whole deal. And then this place has like a skywalk that goes from where the hotel rooms are over to another building that has like a full-on gym, almost like a Gold's Gym. I don't remember what their name is, but like a full-on gym. They got a pool, whirlpool, big bar area. They got like old school, like video arcade games in the area between the pool and the bar and the whole deal. So we've stayed there for like, I don't know, the last 4 or 5 times we've gone. Well, what we didn't realize this entire time was there was a place literally 2 minutes from this hotel called Spare Time. Yeah. Right? And we've driven by this little strip mall, and you see the sparkly lights, but we never even drove over there to see what it was. Well, then we were looking for somewhere to take the 7-year-old bowling because he told me the other day that bowling is his favorite sport. Then baseball, then basketball, then football, then soccer, of all the sports that he plays. He loves bowling the best. Good. Fine. So we were trying to find somewhere for him to go bowling because we weren't there for him. We were there for the 16-year-old for baseball. So, okay, so we surprise him. We go over there. Man. This Spare Time Entertainment Center, which I believe is a chain, right? It's a chain, Phil?
Correct. Yeah. I think they're actually opening one up out in Madison. I think Jeff Nichols on 11th frame.
By the end of the year. I found that out from these people in Iowa. They told me that. So I walk in. I was like, hey, man, I've never been here before. So, like, what's the deal? But as we walk in, there's this huge arcade over to the left. To the right, there's a full bar and then, like, a pizza kitchen where they put out, pieces of pizza. You could order a full pizza, whatever the case may be. And then straight ahead, I kind of figured that's where the bowling lanes were. So I told the 7-year-old, I said, hey, man, I said, go run up there, see what that is. And he's like, where? I'm like, straight ahead, just go run up the stairs. So he runs up the stairs, and then he loses his mind when he sees that they're bowling lanes. But like in the arcade area, they have a laser tag place that you can play. And then straight ahead into the bowling area, off to the left, they have escape rooms inside of this place as well. So you have an arcade, laser tag, escape rooms, bowling, a full bar with TVs, the whole deal, and a pizza place. And they had like ice cream sundaes for dessert and all this other stuff. And it wasn't just pizza. They made other stuff too. And I was just like, this is amazing. The lanes, real nice furniture, on the backside of them. And then on the front, they had the screens from the top of the pins to the ceiling type deal. Not to the ceiling, but pretty much all the way up. And then above that, they had another TV above that one. So there was essentially 2 TVs on each lane. But the TVs going across the top was all promotional stuff. And then the TVs up just right above the pins on the bottom, those were the sports TV or sporting events or whatever you wanted on your lane. Okay. And then they had when we got there, it was 2 hours for $8 per person. I think it was $8, $9, something like that. 2 hours, unlimited bowling, unlimited pizza.
Wow.
And then you just had, I think you had to pay for your shoes was the only thing you had to pay for. So we each had like 4 or 5 slices of pizza, bowled for a couple hours. It was the glow bowl thing or whatever that they have, the music blaring. So I bowled. It took me a couple of frames, and then all of a sudden I'm like, holy crap, dude. These pins have strings on them.
Mm-hmm.
What? We were just talking about this on the podcast.
Right.
Hey, y'all. First of all, they better not do this on the PBA on TV. Like,
no,
this better not happen on TV, because unless they get technology, maybe it'll get better. But there were several times where the pins just like literally fell. Bloop, they all just come falling down. And then they go up and they go to put them down and other pins fall next to them. And it goes back up and it comes back down and tries to figure it out. And I was just like, okay, this is fine for open bowling. And hell, even if you're a league bowler, whatever, right? It delays you 30 seconds, 45 seconds, whatever the case may be when these pins just randomly fall from above. But it would not look good on TV. Like the shots on TV and all of a sudden these pins just fall down. Like I said before, and I'll say it again, I just think people would make fun of the sport if they saw this on the PBA Tour on TV, that this is kind of what it was now. Now, will these other centers around the country eventually go to strings to save money? Probably, right? We
there's no doubt.
They'll probably do it to save money. I don't like it personally, but I think, average person doesn't care. It is weird, though. It's very, very weird play.
How often did the pins fall? I mean, per
game? Yeah.
Probably
like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, that's not good. That would be a bad look for TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. It sometimes takes like 20, 25 seconds for those pins to untangle if they're really a mess.
Yeah. So. And I hear you. But this was the one thing. I didn't have to go get anybody. Like, it auto
fixes itself.
Whatever the case may be. They eventually just figured it out.
Yeah.
But it's just the randomness of the pins just fell down. Like they all just came down. And then they all get pulled up.
And I'm sure
then,
part of it falling down too is that if they don't rotate the pins around, some of the pins, especially the head pin and the 2 and the 3 pins, will take a lot more wear and tear beating than the other pins do. So if they don't rotate them around, then all of a sudden they get, the bottoms aren't flat anymore and that kind of thing. All of a sudden they try to set it down, it falls over.
But this is my question. So like when you see on TV or in your bowling league, right, where all of a sudden the pin slides 6 inches. When that string pulls up, it's going to put it right back down 6 inches over, or is it going to put it back down where the 10 pin was?
It'll pull it back down where it was. Yeah, I have no doubt.
It's not going to put it down 6 inches where it moved, is it? It can't.
I would actually wonder if it would even register as being still standing. Like if it gets pulled like that, it's going to think probably that it's fallen over.
Unless it's not possible. Unless with the string, it's automatically going to fall if it gets moved that much.
That's what I'm kind of thinking too.
Fall?
Well, it depends. It depends on how those mechanisms work. I've never, I've only seen string pins in person a few times.
Right.
But I would think that because how they work, the pin could slide, and the string there's not a lot of tension in the string at that point in time. But then it realizes that all of a sudden, hey, this string got pulled. That pin's down.
Right.
It's not going to reset it. I would think about 95% sure that's how it would happen. So
I don't know. Very interesting. Yeah. I will say that they're building one they're going to have one in Madison, I guess.
Right.
When one of these things eventually come to the Milwaukee area or to the area wherever you're listening across the country, it's pretty cool, man. Now, again, you have to have good customer service and they got to do everything else correct too, in order to have people in this place. Oh, and they had a whole nother area separate from everything other area I told you. And this area was pretty big. Like, I bet you it could hold 50 or 60 people, maybe more than that, with another set of bowling lanes, more TVs, a party suite, they called it, that you could rent out. So it was another 10 lanes or whatever it was and again, a completely separate room from everybody else. So you could have a full house and still put another probably 50 to 100 people in this other room to have a party, and they could bowl and still do all their stuff.
Yeah.
Now that you had a chance to bowl on it and a chance to look at it, my big question all week was, is this something that you think league bowlers would be able to get used to?
Yeah, because I don't think I mean, look, they're going to complain, but let's face facts. Everybody complains about everything.
Right.
So that's not going to change. Everybody has a beef about something. They have a beef about the oil pattern. They have a beef about the ball return. They have a beef.
Right.
Everybody's going to complain about something. This is how it works, right? In all aspects of life. So yes, people are going to complain that the pins randomly fall down or whatever the case may be. But is it going to slow it up enough to make a big difference? No. Like it's not going to slow it up to the point where league play is going to take an extra half hour every night. Now, if it gets to that point, then yes, then everybody's going to have a big problem because then everybody's going to be mad because look, a lot of people have families to get home to and everything else. This is their one night, whatever else, and they don't want to be out longer necessarily than they have to be. You're going to have a couple beers, go do your thing, and go home. And if you're there, 2.5 hours or 3 hours because of these pins, that's an issue then.
Right. What about the pin carry? Did you notice a difference in the pin carry from like a normal center that would not have string pins?
Not really. But again, we were all throwing house balls. So
right.
It wasn't like we were throwing anything,
high performance
at this thing. Right. Yeah. We were throwing a bunch of house balls straight or trying to throw it straight and doing it that way. So that I don't know. I guess I didn't bowl on it with a real ball per se with any type of real movement. But that would be something else, I'm sure, that everybody would want to know. Like, does it affect pin carry? You said you've seen it a couple of times, Phil. Have you ever noticed it?
Yeah, there's been some videos floating out on YouTube recently too about the weird pin carry that they get, and all of a sudden the string takes on another string and the pin falls over, that kind of thing. So yeah, when you get to the higher levels, it's a little tougher. You don't see a lot of messengers. You see a lot of flat tens.
Yep.
So off the top of my head, there was a USB-C study that came out because they're doing this whole thing. Do we certify string pins? Do we not? That said the scoring was actually a little bit lower on the string pins than it was for standard free fall pins. So, I mean, but if you're just sitting there bowling in a league or out with your friends, who really cares? I mean, it's a good time. Yeah, somebody might get a good break, but it's not like somebody's losing a major title for $100,000 on.
But see, that's the thing, right? So that's what I'd like to know. Yeah. If somebody's, let's say somebody's, listening to Spare Time Bowling Show right now and says, I kind of wanted to open my own little bowling center, 10 lanes, whatever the case may be, have a bar, the whole deal. What I would love to know what the cost difference is to put in these string pins versus putting in, the big machines and so forth. How much money does it actually save this person that's starting and building a brand new center?
Yeah, I've heard half.
Yeah, that's a big
half
number.
The cost. Plus, then you're looking at a lot easier on the maintenance as well. It's a lot fewer parts and everything. Right. And then also you're looking at, honestly, less issues with OSHA and that kind of thing, because you're not dealing with these machines that have the chance to honestly kill people. You make the wrong move in some of these pin setters, you're dead.
I used to work on them.
Yeah, Dwight. I mean, I know guys
very dangerous.
I know guys that were even just trying to replace the springs that control the rakes on Brunswick A2s.
Yep.
And they made a mistake and it hit them in the arm and broke their arm. Dang. I mean, they're not easy to work around.
No.
Yeah, I mean, so that might be something that people would consider kind of going forward. All right, let's move on to topic 2, and that is a new hardness rule coming our way for the PBA Tour concerning urethane bowling balls. Dwight Albrecht has studied this up on behalf of the show. All right, Dwight, so what do we got?
Yeah, so Neil Stremmel, I actually saw it on bowlersmart.com on Facebook. They listed a whole 4 or 5 page article that Neil Stremmel has done in Neil's offices, actually inside Brylow. And he has done I guess now all the equipment is there, and he's done now this long study on the softness of urethane balls. And the article basically starts by saying that they found with today's urethanes that the hardness actually drops in 10 shots.
On some, not all. On
dry lanes.
On that.
Yeah, on dry lanes. So the article talked about dry lanes, and I thought right away, well, dry lanes creates heat, and that could obviously soften the ball from just the heat. When a ball is rolling on oil, the oil is a lubricant, so that could keep the hardness at bay. So Phil's right, it's on certain lane conditions. But the study basically went on to say that after all his testing, they found that it's about a 3 to 5 degree softness on a urethane bowling ball with their testing. So January 1st, 2024, they want to submit the hardness of a bowling ball right now for only the PBA to 78 degrees hardness, seeing if the hardness drops 5 degrees, that it would still be legal at the 73 degree hardness. Where Neil talks about in the article, the word hardness or fairness came up several different times. is it fair to the industry? Is it fair to the manufacturers, which Neil talks in the article is partners of the PBA? So obviously, I don't think a lot of bowlers know out there that the pro ball manufacturers are big sponsors of the PBA and have been for many, many years. And then, of course, he said, is it fair to the bowlers also? So Phil and I have had a small talk about this, and my question obviously out there is the manufacturer is going to make balls just for the PBA for now and allow the league bowlers to use the balls that are currently at the 73-degree hardness?
Well, that's the one thing everybody's got to keep in mind. This is just the PBA. Don't freak out for
Right.
your leagues at home. Don't freak out for your USBC tournaments and that kind of thing, your city tournament, your state tournament. This is just the PBA Tour, the PBA Regional Tour, the PBA 50, even the PBA Junior is going to have to deal with this urethane or urethane-like hardness rule. So everybody else, don't worry about it. You can throw your purple hammer from 2019 and everything else. It's going to be fine. Mm-hmm. So, and really the basis is that if you go back in the day when urethane first came out, most of those bowling balls anyway were 77 or 78 hardness, Dwight. They weren't 73. They weren't 72 because they wanted these balls used on the PBA Tour. So your AMF angles back in the day when the PBA said hardness had to be 75, remember back in the day it was ABC was 72 and the PBA was 75. They made these urethane balls at a 77, 78 hardness. They've done it before. They'll do it again, and they'll still find a way to make these balls hook almost as much as they do at these other, and it's not even the hook. It's how they grab the lane. The footprint of the ball is really the thing with the softness. Yeah, it's not how much they hook. It's about how much they can kind of even out the pattern with a bigger footprint. And it's going to prevent these bigger footprint balls from being 68 hardness or what they're dropping down to. Right.
Yeah. So hold on a second here. I want to get clarification.
Sure.
So Dwight, you said, well, these will be just for the PBA bowlers. Then as Phil talked, he's talking PBA regionals. He even brought up the PBA junior league. So now you're talking about kids bowling. They can't just do it for the PBA bowlers, can they? I mean, how's that going to work? Like, I think they're going to have to kind of redo the balls for everybody that go to these pro shops. And then there'll have to be some type of sticker on there, new PBA guideline urethane bowling ball or whatever the case may be, unless you're going to create separate websites for everybody that bowls on the PBA league. So Brunswick would have a special section, PBA approved bowling balls that you can order straight from the Brunswick website and essentially take you guys all out. But the pro shops just get eliminated. And all these bowlers that are bowling on these tours would have to go to the website to order them and then get drilled at their local pro shop. I mean, I guess that would be the other way to do it if you didn't want to, do a brand new batch of bowling balls for everybody across the country. If you just wanted to do it just for those bowlers. Me personally, I think it makes a lot more sense to do a brand new batch for everybody. All the pro shops, all the stores get all the new balls. You just put on there, according to new PBA rule guidelines, this qualifies or whatever, kind of going forward. And then if league bowlers want to bowl with them, they can. If they don't, they don't have to. But at least then now everybody has a chance to go to their pro shop and get the ball versus having to order it online or something.
Well, the touring players, actually, I would assume a lot of them either drill their own stuff in the basement. Most of them will go to the truck and have it drilled on the truck. And I can see the ball manufacturers maybe changing the color of the pin or the color of the label and coming out with two different of the same model ball. Let's take Purple Hammer, which is such a popular ball. And then the pin color could be one for the current rule, and then a pin color could be one for the PBA.
No way. I don't think so. Maybe I'll be dead wrong on this. They're going to go completely to the PBA rule and be done with it. There's not going to be any more of the other one.
USBC following what the PBA is doing.
Well, they don't even have to follow it, but because those will be the balls that'll be for sale. They don't have to change the rule. But if all these ball manufacturers go, we're all changing to what the PBA rule is, and all these balls going forward now follow that guideline, USBC doesn't have to say anything because there's only going to be one kind of ball that you can essentially roll in there. I mean, I guess you could put the rule in technically just to make sure guys aren't bowling, like Phil said, with balls from 2019 or something. If you want to make it official. But I don't think they'll move on it until this ball is able to be bought for a good year or so, or 2 years. And then maybe USBC will make a move.
Here's the confusing part for me. And Phil bowled in that era also of urethane, and urethane came on the scene 1981 to 1992. It's still obviously out. But in that era, and that was my era, was urethane. what we saw with urethane, I don't know if it changed that much over the years and the decades, is urethane was very aggressive out of the box and then died very instantly. We found that we couldn't maintain the hook on the urethane balls in the 80s and 90s, let's say past 20 games. You could try to sand it up, but you didn't get the same reaction as what it was when it was fresh out of the box. So when the pitch blacks came onto the scene years ago, I asked our storm rep at the time, maybe he didn't give me the correct information. I said, what urethane are you guys putting in your pitch blacks? And he said, the Columbia 300 black UDOT urethane. Well, black UDOTs died in 20 to 30 games in terms of their hook. They lost their hook, and when they lost their hook, you lost your area on the lane. Urethane out of the box in the 80s and 90s was amazingly strong. So it's like it's reversed today. Now they're saying the older the ball gets, the more the ball hooks because of the degrees of hardness that it's dropping.
It's not necessarily the hook; it's the footprint, Dwight. It's how the ball is able to grab the lane in like oil patterns where it kind of smooths out the over under. Remember, these guys on tour, when they open up a lane, it's 1 or 2 boards. I mean, it's not a ton.
Yes.
You know, when they cliff a lane. So if they're playing where that lane's kind of cliffed with the urethane and it's only that 1 or 2 boards, you're not going to see a lot of different hook or that kind of thing. But if it makes a bigger footprint, it smooths out, or all of a sudden they tug it a little into the oil and it stays on line. They get it out a little bit to the outside and it comes back in just that little bit harder. That's where that footprint's coming into play, and that's where the differences compete nowadays compared to what it was most likely back in the 90s.
Okay.
So it's the footprint of the ball, not necessarily the hardness of the ball. It's really, they work together because obviously with the durometer readings.
Right.
So they're looking at controlling that footprint of the ball. And the easiest way to do that, bring the hardness back up to what they saw in the 90s. I think with the modern urethane formulations, you're not going to see ball death like you did back then. I think the manufacturers are going to find a way to make sure if you keep a fresh surface and you clean that cover and you get the oil off the ball, it's not going to die. That's why those chamois are so important to the pros when they use urethane, because it gets all that oil because it doesn't absorb it in the ball.
Yeah, we didn't have chamois in the 90s.
Right. So it doesn't absorb it in the ball, and then they keep a fresh surface. So, the manufacturers are going to make it work. There's already manufacturers out there. Swag Bowling, I know a lot of people aren't familiar with it. They're a PBA product registered company, and their urethanes are already at 78 hardness. They have a new one that just got introduced called the Buffalo, and it's 78 hardness. So Swag Bowling's got no problem, right there. The other manufacturers, they'll get there too. And, it's pretty much like everything else. Joe League Bowler is not going to see a lot of difference on the equipment that's getting into their hands. Went from 72 to 73 a couple of years ago. What changed for the League Bowler? Absolutely nothing. It's going to be this way too.
Yep. Okay, so I hear you. All right, let's move on to the third and final topic. PBA League Draft is coming up on Bold TV, coming up on July 18th at 1 in the afternoon. It'll be streamed live on Bold TV. As the press release says, the draft will begin with each of the 10 team managers in reverse order that finished last year, announcing up to 3 protected players on the rosters. Unprotected players will move to the list of draft eligible players, which is made up of the top 75 players in 2023 PBA Tour points who aren't already on PBA League rosters. After all 10 teams announce their protected players, the 2-round snake draft begins, and the teams will fill out their 5-player rosters. If any team chooses to protect fewer than 3 players, additional rounds will be added to the snake draft until all teams have 5 eligible players on their roster. Teams will be able to trade players until the trade deadline of July 28th. So you get essentially 11 days 10 days to make trades after you're all set. And then rosters will be final for competition in September. Okay, so this obviously they'll be bowling this in Portland, Maine, Bowling Heaven, Bayside Bowl, coming up September 24th to 27th on FS1. Draft order as of now. Kingpins with Carolyn Doran Ballard as the manager there. Silver Lake Atom Splitters with Mark Baker. LAX with Andrew Kane. Chicago Breeze with Jason Couch. Motown Muscle with Del Ballard Jr. Waco Wonders, Johnny Petraglia. The Milwaukee Pounders with Marshall Holman. The Las Vegas High Rollers, Emiletto Monticelli. Dallas Strikers, Norm Duke. And the Portland Lumberjacks with Tim Mack. That's your round 1, and those are the managers going forward. So let's do this. I'm going to ask you guys, I'm going to go over each team, and you tell me what 3 guys you would save or less than 3 guys that you would say kind of going forward. New York City Kingpins, Pete Weber, Marshall Kent, Darren Tang, Kyle Sherman, Michael Tang, but Matt Sanders replaced Sherman, who was out due to injury. But those are your guys. Go ahead, Phil. What 3 guys are you keeping if you're keeping 3?
Darren Tang, Marshall Kent, and Kyle Sherman for sure.
Yeah.
So we agree, not Pete Weber.
Pete's done. Yeah, Pete walked off the lanes last year in Portland. I was there. Pete walked off the lanes, and he said he was done. He won't be coming back.
So those 3 are good enough to keep. You wouldn't throw one of those other 3 guys back and take a gamble that you could get somebody better in the redraft.
No.
All right.
No, I'm happy with the holding on of those 3 guys.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Silver Lake Adams Splitters, Jesper Svensson, Tom Doherty, Chris Vi, DJ Archer, Brandon Novak. Phil, what say you?
Svensson, Vi, Archer. Doherty's having wrist issues, injury plagued. He's been down to 14 pounds for his equipment as well, trying to just get past the injuries and stuff. So I'm letting Doherty go, and I'm letting Novak go.
Throw those names at me one more time, Sparky.
Svensson, Doherty, Vi, Archer, Novak.
Yeah, I have to go with Archer just because of his experience. Of course, Jesper and Vi is no-brainer stuff. Novak's got that really crazy loopy arm swing. I think a lot of people would enjoy seeing him on TV, and he's one of those guys that are trying to break through. But you got to go with Archer just because of how many times he's been on TV. Brandon Novak, how many times has he been on TV? 1, 2?
That's good. I like the strategy. And for me, I go Svensson and I go Vi, and I throw the other 3 back and see what happens. I'm not – see, I don't go into this thinking I have to keep 3. I go into this thinking, who are my top guys, and are they better than anybody I can get? I'm not convinced you can't get as good or better than Archer at this point in the region.
That's a good point.
LAX. Belmonte, Buttriff, Stu Williams, Chris Barnes, Martin Larson. Good luck. Have at it. Go ahead. Who do you like, Phil?
I'm holding Belmo, I'm holding Buttriff, and I'm holding Stu. I got to hold Stu.
That's the tough
over
one.
Barnes.
The first 2 are easy.
No
I'm
brainers.
Belmonte and Buttriff. Then what? All right. What do you say, Dwight?
Same. Exactly the same. Buttriff and Belmo, no brainer. That's a strong team, especially if they can get a couple other big names in there.
And then who's your 3rd, did you say? Barnes or Stu?
Stu would be my 3rd.
Man, if Barnes doesn't get redrafted, to not have Barnes or Pete Weber for TV?
Well, that's the thing for LAX. They're 3rd in the draft, 4th in the draft, so they'll be able to pick him up back pretty quick. That's the one thing with these early picks. It's when you get down to teams like Dallas and Portland that are going to be, who do you let go? Not as much Dallas this year, obviously, because Norm's retired. So, and
I just saw Chris Barnes shot 300 his first game on the LBC. Phil, you probably were calling that.
Yeah, we were there on the call. Yeah. So he's still sharp. Yeah.
All right, Chicago Breeze, Jason Couch, Dom Barrett, Tom Smallwood, Sean Maldonado, Nick Pate, and Jake Peters. What say you, Dwight? Barrett, Smallwood, Maldonado, Pate, and Peters.
Wow. Barrett for sure. Probably Smallwood. The other 3 are real iffy.
So those 2, and then you're throwing back the other 3?
I would, yep.
I'm with you. All right, what say you, Phil?
I'm holding Barrett, I'm holding Maldonado, and I'm holding Peters. I'm throwing Smallwood.
Is Maldonado healthy? Because he had back issues.
Maldonado's healthy. He's healthier than Smallwood is right now. I mean, Smallwood had to withdraw from Smallwood had to withdraw from WSOB because of a foot issue. He's been fighting that for a bit. It's one of those things where you could go either way with, either throwing back Smallwood or Peters. But Jake had a pretty solid year. It was a little under the radar, but Jake had a pretty solid year.
Yeah, that's a solid point that, again, obviously I'm not completely in the loop on, is the health of all these guys. Yeah. And as the manager, that's got to play into it. Hey, man, love you, but you're hurt. So you're going back in. I got to take somebody that I know is going to be there and be able to bowl.
Right.
That's part of it. Motown Muscle, EJ Tackett, Anthony Simonson, Brad Miller, Kevin Williams, and who's this other one? Mitch Hoopy? Is that how you say his name?
Mitch Hupe, yeah.
Yeah.
Him and Packy teamed up for the doubles win in the Rothholm doubles.
All right, so who do you got there? Obviously, Tackett and Simonson.
Yeah.
And who's your third, Phil?
Kevin Williams.
And you, Mr. Dwight?
Yeah, I think Williams had a big year, but I like Mitch Hupe's game. Hupe threw a lot of strikes at Portland, Maine a couple of years ago on TV and was like one of the stars of the show.
Yeah, Hupe's he was part of Portland when they won one of the 3 titles recently. So
guy's got a lot of hand for using his thumb.
So that factors into it too, probably, right? As far as how do you bowl in that center? How you bowled before,
right?
Well, and here's one thing this year. I was out there back in May, out at Bayside. Charlie Mitchell had another tournament there, and right before that tournament, they leveled all the lanes at Bayside. They had Bowling Voodoo come in, so a lot of the difference they had between pair to pair throughout the center, like lane 2 was a lot different than lane 3. And they were once they do all the bowling on the old side for the qualifying, guys were kind of drafting that way. Well, now everything's kind of even out. Yes, the old side's still going to hook a lot more than the new side because the lane surface is a lot older, but it plays a lot similar pair to pair to pair. So sometimes, everybody, hey, we wanted that token lefty because of how they can do that. Might not have to be the case anymore. So
yeah, I mean, look at Richie
I'd still take
Allen.
the lefty with Kevin. Yeah, I'd split the lefty with Kevin Williams, obviously, on that last team.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did they do both upstairs and downstairs for?
Well, side to side, yeah.
Okay, topography,
yeah. 1 to 8's on one side, and then 9 through 20 is the other side of that center.
Okay, got it.
Waco Wonders: Walter Ray Williams Jr., B.J. Moore, Thomas Larson, Jason Sterner, Parker Bone III. Phil?
B.J. Moore, Jason Sterner, blow the rest up.
Agree.
Okay. Milwaukee Pounders, representing our hometown: Sean Rash, Ryan Simonelli, Dick Allen, AJ Chapman, and then Anthony Lavery Spar. I think that's it. Go ahead, Phil.
Rash, ALS, and Dick Allen.
Yeah, and again, we just talked about Dick Allen's success in that center. Now, will it be different now that the topography is different? But you can't argue with success that Allen has had there. I mean, he's the star of that place.
Mm-hmm.
Sean's going to throw back Simonelli. Aren't those two like best buds?
They're good friends, but I think just with Simonelli, lefties haven't had a lot on tour. Simonelli didn't have a great year.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying I know there's a relationship there of some sort.
And that just could be one of those where, if he's available down at that pick, do they pick Simonelli back on the team for the chemistry? And then if Chapman's left, I mean, there's possibilities that, these original 5 might still get there, but it all depends on if somebody poaches before it gets down to their point in the draft.
Here's the thing with Simonelli. Isn't he more part-time on the tour, or is he back full-time?
He was full-time this year, but I don't know how much longer that's lasting. Plus, now I know he's took a job. He's vice president of sales and marketing for Bolify jerseys. So that's going to take up more of his time. But, that helps also with the financial security. I'm sure he can do a lot of that while he's out on the road. I know he's still bowling a lot of regional events and that type of thing. So whether it's, whether he's going to be back out full-time next year, we'll see.
Okay. All right, Las Vegas High Rollers. Francois Lavoie, Andrew Anderson, AJ Johnson, Russo, and Ruiz Jr. are the ones on this team. What say you, Phil Brylow?
Frankie, AJ, and Russo are my 3 I hold.
I would have
Andrew Anderson.
Not Andrew Anderson.
All right, Dwight.
I would have Frankie and Andrew Anderson for the 2 for sure.
And then AJ Johnson, Russo, or Ruiz?
Well, Russo's been making a lot of shows. So you could probably, I guess I would go with Russo.
Why not Andrew Anderson, Phil? Just didn't have that good of a year. Just struggled.
Yep.
Andrew will go. He'll go with somebody.
Somebody will take
him. Back. He'll be back in the league. I just wouldn't hold him as one of my 3. And you got to look at what AJ does and the team concept of bowling. He's done so much team bowling.
Yes.
Say over the years and that kind of thing. That's just one guy that you just don't let go. I mean, you see the battle in the guy. I mean, the guy threw 3 gutter balls in a match
and still won.
Never gave up and still won this year. I mean, if that's not the biggest story from World Series, I mean, there were a lot of big stories from World Series, but that's one of the biggest still in my brain that I remember. It sticks out. Like, hey, AJ Johnson fought back off of 3 gutter balls and won.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a young, intense guy too.
Yeah.
All right, so Dallas Strikers: Norm Duke, Tommy Jones, Bill O'Neill, Santu, and Matt Ogle are those guys. And Santu,
Wow.
Ogle, both of those guys this year have bowled well. Phil, what do you say?
Well, obviously Norm's retired, so that's
Right,
one of the
Norm's
spots
not
gone.
bowling.
That's
Yeah.
not going to happen. Tommy may punch me in the face when I see him next Monday, but I'm letting him go. Bill O'Neill, Santu, and Matt Ogle.
Based on this year, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dwight?
I'd agree the same three.
Man, this is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Just the guys that have been here forever just all getting tossed back in or have retired. It's just nuts.
Yeah.
Portland
It's the year that
Lumberjacks.
they're having.
Yeah.
Right. Portland Lumberjacks, Wes Malott, Kyle Troop, Chris Prather, Packy Hanrahan, and Arturo Quintero. What say you, Phil?
Prather, Troop, Packy. Wes has been a foundation of that team since it started, but I don't hold on to him. Injuries and such. I know Wes, he had a big thing on Facebook the other day about never giving up and that kind of thing. But if I'm and talking to Charlie Mitchell a little bit, I know him and Tim Mack have been talking a lot back and forth, and Arturo's got to go back in the draft. He didn't have that good of a year. I think Arturo had one check on tour this year. Arturo lives in Portland. I don't think anybody's picking him up. If Charlie wants him and Tim want him back on the team, he'll be back down there at pick 20. I have no doubt in my mind. Does Wes make it down to pick 10?
Yeah.
So, and then do you pick Arturo back up? Pick 11 because it's a snake draft. So
yeah, Arturo's fun to watch on TV though. Very flashy.
Oh yeah,
guy.
absolutely. And he's great to talk to. And he helps with the chemistry on that. There's no doubt he helped with the chemistry on that team last year. There's absolutely no doubt. It's just one of those things that when you're that good, teams have complained to Tom Clark before saying if you win the Elias Cup, you should be able to keep your team together that next year until somebody knocks you off. I kind of agree with that rule, whether it was Portland or not. But yeah, if you have 5 guys and they win, you get to stay together. I think that's the benefit of winning.
Yep, I agree with that. I think that's fair. Some of the guys that are out there, I'm guessing Kevin McCune will be the number 1 pick, would be my guess.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Is how this works. Sam Cooley is still out there. Sean Lavery Spar is still out there as well. Tom Hess is still out there. Zach Tackett is still out there. Osku is still out there as well. Ronnie Russell is still out there. Patrick Dombrowski is out there. And that's just a few of the names that they put in this email. They put a bunch more, but I'm not going over every single person on this list.
Right.
So, yeah, there are still people out there to be had, but more than likely the people that get thrown back in, a majority of them probably will end up still on other teams is my guess.
Yeah, there's a couple of sleepers out there with Thomas Keiko out of Finland who made a couple of shows this year. And, he's a guy that's definitely – I have no doubt he's going to end up making a roster. And, that's just one of those sleepers where he could find himself, right back in there. Richie Teese could find himself back in the league again as well. Richie had a pretty solid year. He's in the top 40 in points. So Richie could be another guy making it in.
Should be fun. And again, that is next week, the 18th will be the PBA League draft. And then obviously after that, we can get into the following week about the PBA League, who we like, what teams we like, who made mistakes, so forth. Follow Phil on Twitter at Bruce City Bowling. Hello.
Follow Dwight.
Sorry about that.
Dwight's back phone. Follow Dwight Albrecht at Dewey300. You can follow me at Sparky Radio. And, of course, download this on your Odyssey app, wherever you download your favorite podcast ad. And, of course, also on the Odyssey YouTube sports page as well. One last thing on the way out here. I saw this, and I don't know if you guys all saw it or not. I saved it because I thought it was interesting. So it was tweeted out by the USBC, and it was tweeted out by Lucas Wiseman, who we all know, who used to be here and then moved to Texas with USBC. And I don't know who this player is. Wearing yellow jersey. I can't tell.
Youth player, yeah.
Makes a 7-10 split, Dwight, right? Slides the 10 over into the 7 and just calmly walks off like he just picked up a 10 pin. No celebration, no pumping of the fist, no nothing. Just walks off. High five to one dude, and that's it. Lucas Wyman said he made the 7-10 and walked off like he makes it every time with a laughing emoji. Scott Norton, former PBA bowler. This literally breaks my heart. When the youth can't even get excited over a once-in-a-lifetime spare, what the hell are we telling our kids about joy? Is what Scott Norton put in the quote tweet to that.
I think it's more swag than joy, man.
Right.
I mean, you did it. You're just, hey, okay. It's just swag coming off the lanes. It's just confidence he's showing right there.
No chance. I'd be going nuts. I promise.
Yeah, I would too.
I'd be going, hell yeah. I'd be going nuts. What are the chances you ever do that again in your life? I'd love to know from that kid, how many times have you done that? Now the kid knows, I've made it 5 times. Okay, well then maybe he should be able just to walk off and walk back. But a majority of people will never make that in their entire lifetime of bowling.
Yeah. Well, there's not going to be many guys that are going to act like me, as you always used to say that I used to bowl psycho. So, but I mean, a lot of these guys, there's a cockiness to them that absolutely. There's a video that popped up this week of Pete Weber at a tournament making a 7-10 split. Yeah. Tom Clark put on Facebook. I expected Pete to turn around and do like a crotch chop or something. He was fairly subdued after he made it.
He's probably made it though before.
Oh, a few times. Yeah.
No doubt. Maybe this young kid has made it a bunch of times and it's no big deal.
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah.
To the average person watching it on Twitter, you're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So there you go. That'll wrap it up for another edition of the Spare Time Bowling Show. Thank you so much for checking us out. And we will talk to you again next week. And maybe a special guest, PBA bowler. We're working on it. So I'm not going to tell you who it is in case the person can't do it. We'll find out. Also, next week, Pro Bowlers in town, right? In Milwaukee next week, Phil?
Monday night, 6 p.m., they're bowling their squad for the PBA LBC National Championships. So their scores don't count against everybody that's bowled the last 6 weekends, and that is bowling this Saturday and Sunday as well. They have their own squad at Brylow, Wauwatosa. And for those of you that can't get there, I'm going to be live streaming it with the PBA on PBA YouTube Monday night starting at 7 Eastern, 6 Central. You can watch it for free. Thanks to the PBA for that. And we'll have every pair in play covered. So if you want to follow your favorite player for all 6 games, you're going to be able to do that on PBA YouTube. It's pretty cool.
That is awesome. Good job. Looking forward to it. Are you doing play-by-play?
No, we're bringing MJ in. Bringing Mike Jakubowski. Mike J. Laneside's coming in, and we'll have some special guests in the booth throughout the day as well. So yeah, I get to play producer this time around. So I've been playing producer, play-by-play, color all through the 7 weekends of the LBC. So I'm going to get to relax a little bit, be more on the technical end of things, because we're going to try to bring you some different features during that pro top 50 squad.
As you have any $2 as a $2 bill, he has Phil Brylow, Dwight Albrecht as well. Thank you so much, guys. And we'll talk to you again next week.